Welcome, everyone. My name is Hallie. I'm a member of the Quad Education team. I want to welcome you to our webinar on essential skills for college, how to build them early. We have two of our fantastic admissions consultants here with us today who are going to walk you through this topic, answer any questions that you have, and hopefully we'll give you a lot of information. Let's see. So for those of you who don't know, Quad Education is an admissions consulting company focused on helping students and families through the college application process. We work with students, all the way from they're just beginning to think about college all the way through actually deciding which of the essential skills you need for college. We'll talk about differences between soft and technical skills. We'll go through examples of both soft and technical skills, talk about ways to develop those, and then we'll open things up for a Q&A. So if you have questions, pop them in the Q&A chat box as we go through, and we will definitely get to those at the end. Additionally, we are recording this webinar, and you'll receive an email with this webinar in it in the next couple days. You can refer back to it as well. So we have Dominique and Maisha here with us today. They work with students and families like you through this whole process and have just a lot of information to share on this topic and just the college admissions topic as a whole. Dominique, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Dominique. I have about a little over a year of experience working specifically as an admissions counselor here at Quad. A lot of my background is rooted in my time at Dartmouth College, where I was a student tour guide working with the admissions office to talk to prospective students and just kind of guide them through somewhat that process. Obviously, that's a very small piece, but just really kind of being able to talk to them about some of the things that colleges are looking for. And then I really got to expand that as an alumni interviewer after I graduated. And again, really get to play a small role in giving that kind of feedback back to the admissions office as to the different things that we are seeing in some of the candidates that I was able to interview. I have some experience working, this early building skills early in high school and in even middle school sometimes is near and dear to my heart. The majority of my professional experience is in public education, where I've had the chance to mentor young high school students and even middle school students as they go through that whole journey, choosing extracurriculars, choosing classes, and really helping them kind of shape these different skills that we're going to talk about today through the different experiences they're having. So I'm really excited to share with you all.
Great. Thanks so much for being here, Dominique. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Maisha. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maisha Rahman. I also have many years of mentoring both my peers and students younger than me, ranging from middle school, high school, college, and graduate school. I studied neuroscience and behavior at Columbia University. Then I went on to do my PhD at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in neuroscience and genetics. And now I'm working in a biotech company, but mentoring is still one of my passions. And I feel very strongly about helping students gain admission into the college of their dreams like I was able to do. So I'm really excited to talk to you all about tips and tricks on how to get into college, because I know it's not a stress-free time, but we want to help make it as stress-free as possible.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here as well, Maisha. And definitely want to echo what Maisha said about wanting to make this as stress-free for people as possible. It definitely is one of the most stressful experiences applying to college, but try to make it as easy as possible. So let's dive in and talk about the importance of building essential skills for college.
All right, awesome. I can jump in. So just to kind of introduce our topic, today we're going to be talking about, one, what are the essential skills that you will need for college? And then two, how can we build those early on in, again, late middle school, early high school, and then later on into high school. And so really, we're going to talk about two types of skills, as we mentioned before, but there are so many reasons why it is important to build, skills such as time management, communication, critical thinking, all of these things. I think the biggest thing that is so different about college than high school is that you truly are immersed in that experience 100% of your time. And so, for example, you're taking courses, you're doing extracurriculars, all of those things, but you're also living on this campus and you're living amongst your professors or your teachers, right? And you're living amongst your peers. And so really it's so important to hone those skills where you're able to, be independent about, I have only 2 hours of class today and I'm used to having 6 hours of class in high school, but really you also have 6 hours of studying you need to get done. And that's on you to figure out how you're going to get that done. And so it's just little things like that, kind of shifting from having this rigid structure to having a little bit more flexibility in your life, but still having to, rise to the occasion when it comes to academics, studying, research, extracurriculars, those things. And so being able to hone all of these skills will at the end of the day help you be a little bit more independent, and then really just kind of have your ducks in a row in all facets of your life when it comes to living on a college campus and doing all the things that you're going to be doing.
All right, so we'll talk a little bit about the difference between soft skills and technical skills, which we'll dive into in more detail in a couple of slides.
All right, so the first of the two types is soft skills. Soft skills refer to personal attributes and abilities enabling individuals to interact effectively with others in various social and professional settings. That's just a long way of saying soft skills are how you interact with others. They're also known as interpersonal skills, and it's not tied to being book smart or having particular facts or knowledge built up in your head. Particular examples are communication, teamwork, problem solving, critical thinking. So we'll go later in this talk, we'll go more in detail into these 4 types of soft skills.
All right, and I can jump in. So just to talk about kind of the other end of the spectrum here, we have our technical skills. Sometimes you'll refer to them as hard skills as opposed to soft skills. These are your specific abilities and skills and knowledge that are directly related to some sort of particular field or discipline or something like that. And so, we have some examples here: Microsoft Office, data analysis, graphic design, etc. Knowing all of these things is important. I just want to kind of emphasize, when I say graphic design, it doesn't mean you have to go out and take a graphic design course and be, fluent in advertising or whatever it is to go to college. When we say graphic design, it's really, can you put together a clear, powerful presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, something where you can make an argument, make a claim, and make your point to an audience full of people. That is what we call a transferable skill, which, is a super important, I think, buzzword in college. A transferable skill being that you can, use this knowledge you have about how to make a compelling presentation across all disciplines. And so again, you don't have to have this super technical, in-depth understanding of everything to do with Photoshop and things like that. But just being able to understand how to make a clear presentation where your text looks good and you have some pictures and it's just appealing to your audience, that can go a long way. Same thing with Microsoft Office. Data analysis, again, this doesn't mean that we need to have all taken AP Stats. This really means, can I look at a set of data? Can I look at a set of numbers and draw a conclusion from it? And so you can hone those skills in a number of different ways, and we'll talk about them. Some of them might be in some of your math classes. Some of them might be in extracurriculars. Are you working with a budget? Are you working, in other ways to do data analysis and working with finances, et cetera? So just kind of understanding all of these things in a broad sense can be really transferable, again, not only to your college courses, but just in general to the different things you might do on a college campus.
I do want to mention, a lot of these skills that we're going to talk about are, base skills that you start learning day 1 of kindergarten and are building through your entire K-12 educational career. But what we're going to talk about are skills that are really handy to have for college, but will also, like, if you're going into a very intensive art program, the skills that you need are going to be different than if you're going into, say, chemistry or biology. But we'll talk about the basic ones. All right, so let's go into some examples of some soft skills that might be beneficial for college.
Okay, so one of the soft skills that I mentioned earlier is communication skills. So effective communication is what allows you to express yourself, to build relationships, to communicate with others, whether it be your peers, your professors. It helps build teamwork, and it really helps you stand up for yourself and, you know, really communicate who am I, what do I need, what do I want, and how can I get help in getting closer to my goals. And you might think, okay, well, maybe I'm kind of shy, maybe I wasn't born being a great communicator, et cetera, et cetera. But communication skills are actually something you can learn and practice. So, you know, practicing communicating, whether it be expressing your ideas to a professor or a teacher, or even writing them down in a way that's very communicable, are things that can be worked on. But overall, communicating is really essential, especially as you grow older and become more independent, and in a college setting for sure.
All right, the next one we'll jump into is time management skills. For me personally, this was the biggest thing in college. I think I kind of mentioned this earlier, but I think it can be very shocking to go from a very rigid, 6-8 hour a day at high school. You're in this class, you're in that class, kind of back to back. And then there's, of course, some homework at the end of the day. But the majority of the schoolwork you've done for the day has happened during those structured blocks. You may find that when you go to college, that 6 hours of time spent in class could be as low as 2, maybe even 3 hours. When I first got to college, I remember I had class from like 9 a.m. to 11, and then that was it. And I was like, great, I can spend my whole day hanging out with friends, take a nap, whatever around campus. And I learned quickly, especially if anyone's interested in science, being pre-med myself, there's a lot of studying that goes into all these classes. So you're meant to be reviewing your notes on a daily basis. We're no longer just showing up to class every day and maybe studying 1 or 2 nights before. So just kind of how everything works really shifts. And the onus is on you as a student to be independent and figure out how are you going to get that done. And so, again, if you're not a morning person, you can shift your schedule, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be spending most of the day not studying just because you don't have class all day. So it's just one example. And then having, again, fit in extracurricular activities, potentially more personal responsibilities and commitments, living on your own. You may need to do laundry that you didn't have to do before, or just little things to kind of take care of business as far as living on your own and all of that stuff. So this is just absolutely integral. And something that you can start building early on. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. I don't want to get too deep into it, but definitely so important, and something I see myself and so many other students struggle with when they get to college. There's a lot that can be done ahead of time to really kind of nip that in the bud.
I remember being so shocked when my first semester of college, I think I had Wednesdays completely free. And, like Dominique said, I thought it would be free day, like a extra Saturday, and it ended up being one of my busiest.
All right, so another soft skill that's really important is critical thinking. Now, critical thinking is what we've really been taught ever since kindergarten, right? It's one of those things that Hallie was saying, that we really do learn these things from a very young age. But it's a skill that can be honed over time. And of course, as you move from middle school to high school to college, your critical thinking skills do get more refined. This is how you really solve problems, study and give exams. It helps you understand the material you're going through and make decisions in your life, whether it be academic or interpersonal. So overall, critical thinking is something that's essential, and just like the other skills we were talking about before, you can practice your critical thinking skills by putting yourself to the test, taking on challenging problems, and also, like I mentioned before, asking for help, which I think is essential to do in a college setting.
All right, and then next up, we have collaboration skills. So this is another huge topic that is near and dear to my heart. Another big thing, I think a lot of students think that the group projects and all of that ends in high school. At least in my experience, it absolutely did not. And I found myself collaborating a lot more with other students in college than I was in high school. And so it's so important to, again, you are independent, you are on your own. There's not going to be a professor sitting next to you saying, here's your group, let me help you facilitate this group work. It's really going to be on you to align your schedules, and maybe you're meeting at 8 p.m. in the library because that's when everybody's schedule makes sense, but really knowing how to not only work kind of collaboratively with people you don't know very well, but also to step up as a leader and really take charge in those collaboration, those moments of collaboration. It's again, college is so different. You are going to be constantly meeting new people. Dartmouth runs on trimesters, so every 10 weeks I was in a class full of brand new people. And yes, there was some overlap being in pre-med and being in my major. You see a lot of the same people, but there's also other classes where it's like, I've literally never met you before in my life, and now I'm on a group project with you, and I've never talked to you. And that's a little bit different than high school, when I think most students, you get a general sense of the kids that are in your class as the years go on and as you grow up. And so being able to just throw yourself in and say, cool, hi, nice to meet you, exchange contact information, talk to each other, get to know each other a little bit, being able to do that on a regular basis and just constantly with people you've never met will start to become the norm. And so it's important to develop that skill pretty early on as well for success.
All right, so the last soft skill example that we'll be talking about is problem solving. Now, this really goes hand in hand with critical thinking, because after critical thinking, the next step is how do you solve these problems that you've been thinking about? Whether it be, actual problem sets for math class or calculus, or, how can I go about writing this essay, or how do I fix this relationship with my roommate? At the end of the day, problem solving is essential in everyday life. And, many a times we are used to having people like our mentors or our friends or our teachers or our parents help us out with problem solving. But it's true, college is a unique place. You are really more independent than you have ever been before. So, taking on those problem solving skills yourself is something that's very important, and I think can help you really get, far in college. I'm going to stress again that, of course, you can still ask for help from your mentors and your professors, but honing in on these skills, I think, will make for a very successful college experience.
All right, so now we'll go into some examples of technical skills.
All right, awesome. So one that we mentioned earlier, these graphic design skills, like I said, it doesn't have to be anything too complex. It isn't necessarily, again, that you know how to use super advanced graphic design software. It's more that you understand the principles of how to make a compelling argument in front of a group of people, right? And oftentimes in this day and age, with all of the technology that we have available to us, that really is, can I create some sort of PowerPoint, Google Slides, whatever it is, presentation? Can I create some sort of one-pager, just a quick summary of the point I'm trying to make to you? So absolutely critical. Sorry about that. Absolutely critical to being able to function in a college environment. I would say the number one thing I learned in college, and I mentioned a couple of times, I was pre-med in college. That was something that I was working towards at the time, and it's something I'm no longer pursuing. And so, a lot of that stuff I'm not using, a lot of the technical biology, chemistry, all of that. But what I absolutely am using is my ability to think make a claim and, project that claim towards whether it be a group of people, a single person, someone that I'm trying to make that argument towards. And so, this is one of those pieces. There are other ways, again, communication skills, all of those things, but this really falls into that. Can I show someone visually the point I'm trying to make in a very clear, easy to read, easy to figure out way?
Now, Microsoft Office goes hand in hand with graphic design skills. I think Microsoft Office is almost like the first step because you are very often expected to create presentations. This ties together two of the soft skills we talked about, which are communication and collaboration, because many a time you are asked to create slide decks or PowerPoint presentations or some sort of Google sheet, or sorry, we're talking about Microsoft, so we'll say Excel sheets with your classmates, for your professors. So I'm certain that most students nowadays have exposure to Microsoft Office, the whole suite, before even entering college, but it is an essential tool in being able to communicate your work, get your assignments done, and to be able to collaborate with others and share your ideas together. So it's just another technical skill to have in your toolkit.
And I think we can definitely lump, Google Drive and the Google Suite into Microsoft Office as well. I think a lot of people will find that using Google Docs and Google Sheets is a lot easier for collaboration and group projects. But you have other classes where you will need to know Microsoft Office as well.
All right, next up is data analysis skills. So we also kind of touched on this one before. Again, this is not, did I take AP stats? Do I know the most complex Excel functions, formulas, all of that? All of that, again, is super technical and important in certain disciplines. If you are going to go into a science, obviously computer science, things like that. But this, at its core, is really, can I see a set of numbers or even just information, right? Even if it's just qualitative data. And can I, extract the patterns? Can I draw conclusions from it and use that to contribute to my projects to make, again, what I'm going to say is the most important thing. Can I make a claim based on this data, based on what I'm seeing here, in whatever way, right? And so maybe that's I'm writing a paper, maybe that's I'm giving a presentation and I'm using those graphic design skills. But being able to, especially ground that in numbers and pull out that meaningful information. So again, can I take a set of data and pull out what's meaningful and basically say that to somebody and make it very clear to them what the point is, like what is the main point. That's absolutely crucial no matter which discipline you're going into. And just for life too, this is just, can I analyze what's going on in the news? Is what's being broadcast to me, is this actually true? Or, maybe this data isn't being presented in a way that's to me factual or to me, as bad or as good as people are making it out to be. And so being able to evaluate those claims yourself will show me the data, show me the evidence, can be really helpful for just taking in any information about the world that you have coming in.
Okay, and the final technical skill we'll be talking about is project management. Now, project management is really like a physical manifestation of time management. Because with time management, yes, you are trying to, schedule assignments, schedule time to study, to nap, to eat, to sleep, to go to classes. Project management is when you actually have to execute on these things. You have to actually create these assignments, be able to handle multiple different classes at once, and deliver. Like you have to hand in your problem sets and manage different group projects in different classes. So it's essential for one to gain or learn how to be good at project management. And One of the terms that Dominique mentioned earlier was transferable skills, and project management is definitely one of those transferable skills that go with you throughout your life, especially post-college when you're looking for a job. Employers love to see that you have project management skills. It's something that will really help you throughout your life, along with the other skills that we're talking about, of course.
All right, so kind of went over some of the top skills that you'll need. We'll talk about how to develop those skills. And, as we mentioned, a lot of these you are learning from day one of kindergarten, even preschool. You're learning it in school, out of school, everywhere. But we'll talk a little bit how to add on to the skills you've been building in class and at home, and how to really hone in on those.
Yeah, perfect. So we'll jump in with a couple of tips here. I just kind of want to preface all of this by saying all of these tips are not super concrete. And I think sometimes, if you are on this webinar, you're probably a pretty organized, high achieving student to begin with. You want to get into a good college. And hearing something like, find a mentor, or just something very vague, like learn to communicate better, can be really tough, because I know a lot of us want very concrete, practical, what can I do tomorrow to get me into my dream school? So I get that. I want to name that. All of that said, unfortunately, a lot of these things we are talking about, again, soft skills that aren't always super measurable or quantifiable. And so we need to be kind of comfortable in how vague that is, and just know that we are constantly seeking to get better. And, there are ways, like I said, finding a mentor is probably a great place to start, because they can give you that feedback. And even if it's just qualitative feedback, here's how I'm feeling about how you're doing. Here's how I felt about that presentation you gave, whatever it might be. That is helpful, because oftentimes you're not going to just get a score. You get a 90%, you get an A+ in communication, right? It's more of, are you a strong communicator or not? What could be stronger, as opposed to something quantifiable again. So just kind of naming that. All of that said, three really important things on this slide. One, setting goals. So just figure out which skills do you want to develop. Think about, all of these slides that we've gone through. Do you feel like, man, communication is something I really struggle with. I feel like I am never on the ball when I need to be communicating certain things, whether that's with group project partners, or maybe that's with your family, with your parents, and it's just something that's never come naturally to you. Figure out which things you want to work on, period. And then I would say finding a mentor is awesome, right? This person can be a quad counselor, right? Of course, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a teacher, it can be a peer, it can be a friend. Find a friend that has the same goals as you. Sit down with them and say, hey, we're both 10th graders. We both want to go to great colleges. What are the things that we both want to work on? And how can you hold each other accountable and give each other advice, and just, make fake PowerPoint presentations together and present them to each other. And I know that sounds corny, but it's so crucial. Even just sitting down and practicing that, and practicing being uncomfortable doing that, will go such a long way when it comes time to actually potentially stand in front or sit in front of an alum that's going to interview you, right? And you'll be able to speak so much more clearly and eloquently, because you'll have had that practice just going through it. And then the last one would just be to seek resources, right? There's so many different resources you can use to develop these skills, both hard and soft skills. I'm thinking the data analysis skills specifically. I know that, this is not everybody's favorite, but the ACT, for example, the science section is a great place to learn those data analysis skills. It really just gets to the heart of, can you very quickly look at this graph, look at this chart, look at this set of data, and pull out what's important. And so even if you're not taking a test and you're going test optional and all of that, take the ACT just for fun, right? And see how you do, and study and use those resources from there. So it's just all about, again, getting creative with, how can I hone this skill, and what resources are there available to me online? And so it's little things like that. Take a quick course in Excel, just an online kind of refresher. It doesn't have to be a big thing. All of that can go a long way. And not only building these skills, but building your confidence. Once you build these skills, you will have so much more confidence to sit in an interview with someone, or to write a personal narrative, or whatever it is. Here I am, and here are the skills that I have. And so yeah, I guess those are my biggest pieces of advice for, I guess these specific how-tos.
I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No
So I'll
worries.
go over the last two bits of advice that kind of echo what Dominique said in the last slides. One of those things is to take things step by step. So breaking down, what do I really want to focus on? What am I interested in improving in myself? And a great way to do that is, like setting goals, to actually make a to-do list. Just maybe take some time to reflect and sit and write down what are things that I want to improve on, and what are the resources that can help me get there. So sometimes writing things down and having it in front of you can really help solidify a goal that you set for yourself. Another point is to get feedback, and that kind of goes along with finding a mentor. And getting feedback can really be hard sometimes if it's not, always positive feedback. But in these circumstances, it's so essential to get, factual and true feedback from someone that you trust. So definitely you want to reach out to people who you trust and care about, who you think can give you practical advice on how you can improve skills, really tell you what you already excel at, whether that be technical or soft skills. And getting feedback can also be a way to find more resources. A lot of the times people you talk to can introduce you to other mentors, or maybe some online courses, maybe a great YouTube video talking about data analysis, maybe a Coursera class about a Microsoft Office suite, etc. So, I think the best way to develop these essential skills is to self-reflect, talk to people you trust, and do your own online research. Try to find out ways you can improve, and reach out to us, of course, if you ever have questions or want more concrete advice.
Fantastic. I think one thing we didn't really say here was practice. I think that kind of goes into all of these, but practicing as much as you can will help you out as well. So this brings us to the end of our information for you. So we're going to go ahead and start answering some questions. So if you have any questions, pop them in the Q&A box and we will definitely answer those. The first one we have is, do you have any tips for developing time management skills? I always start off with a plan to be productive, but end up procrastinating when there is no one to keep me accountable.
I would love to jump in on this one. This is my favorite question. Someone always asks it no matter what the webinar topic is. It is very relevant to this one, but this is a big thing that's so important to me because it's something I've always struggled with. Again, I will say you are here on, a summer evening, right? It's summer for everyone. You're off school and you're here to learn more about how you can better yourself to get into a good college, right? So probably you are a certain type of student and a very good one, right? And so what I will say is I find, and again, this is me, takes one to know one, when you are a procrastinator, it is likely because you are a perfectionist. That I have found that time and again. And so, and for myself, again, I have found that I find myself just sitting on a task and waiting to do it because I'm afraid I don't have the perfect mental capacity and setup to get it done really well. So I'll wait until everything is absolutely perfect, till I have 6 hours to sit down with something and just really make sure it's polished and good. And that can really get in the way of just life and doing good work, because you not only do you spend a bunch of time stressing and thinking about it, when am I going to have the time? When am I going to feel good enough? When am I going to have the right environment to get this task done? But, oftentimes, as I'm sure a lot of us know, this doesn't work out. And we end up still cramming it into 2 hours, even though we thought it would take 6, and it doesn't come out as good because there's that added stress and pressure. So all of this to say, one thing that's worked for me, and everybody is different, is just blocking out time on my calendar to work on something. And so I use Google Calendar pretty religiously, and that's not something that you necessarily need to do in high school, because most of your day is pretty rigid. You're in class A, class B, class C, whatever. It's not as fluid or as flexible than someone maybe in the working world or in college. But if you are able to just say, okay, I have this assignment, I am giving myself 60 minutes. I'm going to work from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. when I get home from school on this, and then it needs to be done. If you force yourself to get it done in a reasonable amount of time, it'll probably be pretty good. And then what you can do after is say, okay, tomorrow morning, I'm going to spend 20 minutes proofreading it or whatever. And that way it's less of it's never going to be perfect. And then it's more of, all right, it's mostly done. And worst case, if I had to turn it in tomorrow, it's fine. I got it done in a reasonable amount of time, and I still have the whole night ahead of me. And so I guess all of this to say, super long-winded, chunk out time and just give yourself a time limit. Set a timer, whatever you need to do, get it done. Even if it's not perfect, you at least have a rough draft. And sometimes that rough draft might just be what it has to be in that moment, just based on what time you have.
Yeah, Dominique pretty much hit it on the head, that usually your perfection is what leads to procrastination. I'm definitely the same way. You're mentioning in the question how sometimes there's no one to keep me accountable. If it's something that's really, really important in your life, and for example, submitting college applications and getting these essays done in time, it's okay to actually find someone to keep you accountable. Maybe a friend can check in and say, hey, did you write your first draft yet? And sometimes having a physical voice, like an actual voice saying that, does kind of kickstart you to saying, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be perfect. Also, be kind to yourself, because sometimes, we really put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect. And at times when you go back and read something you wrote, just quickly, there have been many times where I go back and think, oh, that wasn't too bad, actually. I didn't really need to, force myself to achieve perfection for this. I'm sure you have the skills that you need to, create something that is still excellent without being perfect to the T. So yeah, being kind to yourself and maybe finding someone to help keep you accountable for the really, top of the list tasks can help with procrastination and time management.
Fantastic. I think that's definitely great advice. Time management is definitely tough, and you will definitely get better at it. Let's see, while we wait for more questions, Maisha, Dominique, do you have any other thoughts on ways to develop skills or skills that are essential for college that maybe we didn't cover here today in our presentation?
Yeah, I can. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to mention, sometimes there are clubs, like after-school clubs that you can join that can enhance your skills. For example, let's say you're interested in something in science, something science related, and you want to get more technical skills. You can join a club like that where people do science experiments, or let's say learning a language. Getting better at French is one of the technical skills you want to work on. Joining a French club can be a way to do that, or joining a public speaking club to help with your communication. So I think those are some resources that can be available at your fingertips that could help.
I love that tip. Thanks for sharing that. I think it's definitely something that we don't talk about a lot. We talk about extracurriculars, but not how it pertains to building skills. But that's very true. Dominique, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say, if there's no questions at the moment, another big thing I think I underestimated in high school was just having a social life. And this is going to sound kind of like, well, why are you telling me to go out and hang out with my friends if I'm supposed to be working and getting good grades and all those things? But a big piece of what is going to make you successful in college and ultimately in any career that you have, whether it be in academia, in science, in the business world, in whatever, is networking, and just being that person that's just personable, that people like, that people know. I'm not saying you need to be, the most popular student. You don't need to be at every campus party or anything like that. But it's really about just being that, that person that says, hi, good morning to the person sitting next to you that maybe you've never met in class. The person that's showing up to office hours and just really investing in getting to know your professors. And so that starts in high school. Just be that person in class. And even if you're shy, right, this can be a thing to work on. Can you say hi to someone at your table, or can you make a new friend, or can you ask someone to study with you, and just start to work on, those social skills that maybe will feel uncomfortable at first, especially when you're being asked to branch out to someone who didn't necessarily ask to talk to you, right? You're just saying hi to someone, or you're inviting them to study, or whatever it might be. But that goes a very long way, because then you will expand your professional and personal network. And not only will potentially you need a letter of recommendation someday, or someone might know someone who can potentially get you a job or an internship or something like that, but it really just helps you to feel more connected, I think, to the communities that you're in, and it helps you to feel, therefore, more motivated to succeed there. And so it's kind of two-pronged, right? If you have a lot of connections and you feel comfortable talking to the people in your classes, and you have those good relationships with them, you're going to feel more comfortable going into class, right? It's going to help your attendance potentially. You're going to feel more comfortable asking for help, or just nudging the person next to you. Hey, what did the professor just say? I'm confused, right? Little things like that totally go a long way. And then, of course, there's the tangible. Having a bigger network just helps you, because you might bump into the right person at the right time who can help you with the right connection or job or whatever it may be. So don't underestimate really honing those social skills and just working on that in high school as well. I think Hallie might be frozen.
I think so too.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I don't think I see any.
I don't see any in the chat box.
Sorry about that. My video went out for a second there.
Well, we can hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I think that brings us to the end of our presentation today. I want to say thank you to everyone for joining us. Maisha, Dominique, it was a pleasure to have you both. And I know I learned a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people learned a lot here with us. And we will be sending out an email with this presentation attached, so you can refer back to it if you need to. Feel free to reach out to us on our website. If you want to learn more about Quad and how we can help you, if you want to schedule an appointment with us, please absolutely do. And yeah, there's other webinars up on our website for you to sign up for in the coming weeks. So feel free to go check those out as well. And we look forward to seeing you at more of these. I hope everyone has a really great evening.